Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today I'm going to explain an action thriller movie called The Hunt. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens as we see a rich woman named Athena who is joking around with her elite friends in a group chat. Athena then tells them that they will soon be able to blow off some steam by hunting deplorable people at the manor. However, her friends ask her not to say such things over text, as it could be leaked and they could get in trouble. The scene then cuts to a private jet, where Athena and her elite friends are heading somewhere. One of them, named Richard, speaks with a flight attendant and brags about eating caviar. She then proceeds to pour him some champagne when a big guy appears in the cabin in a dazed state, as if he has been drugged. The big guy startles everyone while he is confused about what the hell is happening and why he is here. An old man claims he is a doctor and asks him to lie down so he can help. The big guy agrees, but in a shocking twist, the old man stabs him in the throat with a pen. Despite bleeding heavily, the big guy grabs a champagne bottle and smashes it against the old man. He even tries to attack the others, but we see Athena approaching him calmly from behind. She then immediately drives her heel into his eye, causing the poor man to scream in agony. Afterwards, the big guy is taken to a room where he begs for help one last time before dying. In the same room, we see a woman known only as Yoga Pants lying unconscious. The next morning, Yoga Pants wakes up in a field with a gag locked into her mouth. She then notices another gagged woman named Crystal in the distance and calls her, but Crystal ignores her and walks away. Meanwhile, Yoga Pants moves forward and notices they aren't alone, but there are several people here who are gagged and confused. There is a huge wooden box in the middle of the field, so a man approaches and tries to open it. Moments later, a little pig dressed in a shirt comes out of the box, which startles everyone. The man then enters the wooden box and soon pulls out an entire set of weapons, so everyone rushes to grab one. Meanwhile, Yoga Pants finds another piece of wood with a set of keys, so the group uses it to unlock the gags from their mouths. However, the movie takes a shocking turn when all of a sudden some people begin shooting at them from a distance, and many people die in the chaos. Yoga Pants and another man hide behind the wooden box, but the poor woman's head is soon blown off. The horrified man then tries to escape when he notices another woman impaled on a spike in a pit. She says that tomorrow is her birthday and begs for help, so the man helps her get out. However, they can't get far before the man steps on a landmine and is blown to pieces. In this way, many people begin dying in horrific ways, such as being blown apart by grenades or struck down by arrows. Only a handful are now left alive, and they are still in grave danger. Amid the chaos, 3 people somehow survive the attacks and soon arrive at a gas station run by an old couple. They point a gun at the couple and demand to know where they are, so the terrified couple says they're in Arkansas. The survivor then grabs a phone to call 911 and explains everything to the operator. However, the operator seems strangely calm and says they will trace their location and be there soon. While waiting for help, a girl begins eating marshmallows from the store, but they turn out to be poisoned, which leads to her horrific death. This horrifies the other survivors, and soon the old couple draws their weapons and begins attacking them, which reveals that they are also part of the elite group running this deadly game. After all the survivors are dead, the couple begins dumping the bodies in a back room and cleaning up the mess. However, the old woman notices a dead man wearing a wedding ring and feels guilty for killing that one. But her husband says that the man was a monster whose ancestors probably enslaved black people and oppressed them. Really?
No, I made that up.
Moments later, they are informed over the radio that another target, Snowball, is coming, and she is unarmed, so they can have fun with her. Soon enough, Crystal appears at the store, and the old couple once again pretends to be innocent shopkeepers. However, Crystal remains surprisingly calm and asks for her cigarettes before paying the money. She doesn't say anything about the killing sprees, and soon the couple gives her the change. However, Crystal notices blood on the note and asks where they are, to which the couple responds, Arkansas. Upon hearing this, Crystal grabs the old woman and violently slams her against the table, saying that cigarettes in Arkansas only cost $6. She delivers a brutal punch to the old man and snatches his shotgun before blasting him to death. She then turns her attention to the old woman and brutally shoots her to death as well. Next, Crystal leaves the store with the radio and the old couple's shotgun. She then notices a car outside with a fake Arkansas license plate and spots a bomb underneath the vehicle. Crystal then begins hearing on the radio other elites talking to each other about the killing spree. She realizes they are worried because the old couple is not responding, so they soon send a drone. Crystal quickly hides herself herself, but someone shoots the drone, which makes the kidnappers realize that someone is listening to them, so they turn off the radio. Moments later, another survivor named Gary arrives and points a gun at Crystal, but she explains that she is also a victim, like him. She then tells him he shouldn't have fired at the drone, as now the killers are fully aware of their presence. Gary feels stupid, and the two frantically begin searching for a way out of that twisted place. Moments later, they reach the train tracks and soon spot a train approaching, so they sprint at full speed and manage to leap on to the train. There, the duo notices a group of refugees, and Gary quickly readies his gun to defend himself. Their refugee leader begins speaking in Arabic and begs for mercy, but Gary thinks they are just actors placed by the elites to fool them. He points the gun at the leader guy and threatens to shoot him when all of a sudden, the train comes to a stop. Moments later, several foreign soldiers arrive and begin unloading the illegal refugees. Gary tries to explain to the soldiers what is happening, but they speak in a language unknown to him. As the soldiers walk away, refugee leader suddenly calls Gary by his name, saying that the soldiers probably didn't believe his story. It turns out that this man is also one of the elites, and he tells Gary and Crystal that even though he is acting, these refugees and the soldiers are real. This makes Gary furious, so he lunges at the man, which leads to a huge fight between them. At one point, the elite man drops a grenade from his bag, so Gary grabs it and stuffs it into the man's pants. He and Crystal begin running away, while the elite man tries to pull the grenade out, but fails and literally explodes into pieces, nuts first. Following this, Gary immediately runs away from there, while Crystal is taken by the soldiers to a refugee camp. There, she meets a commander who speaks English, and she is shocked to learn that she is in Croatia. Crystal then explains her story, and they bring in another man, Don, who arrived a while ago with the same story of being kidnapped and hunted. The commander agrees to call the U.S. ambassador, who will arrange for them to be taken back to the United States. Sometime later, a man from the U.S. embassy arrives to pick the two up and drives them away from there. On the way, the two explain everything to him, and the shocked man assures them that he will do everything to track down the elite criminals. He then suddenly asks why they kidnapped these people, suggesting that they must have done something wrong in their lives to be chosen. Don insists he hasn't done anything bad, when Crystal suddenly kicks the ambassador out of the car with her feet. She then reverses the car and brutally runs the man over, leading to his death. Upon seeing this, a panicked Don scolds her for killing their savior, but Crystal opens the car trunk, where they find the dead body of Gary, which proves that the fake ambassador was also part of the elite group. They also find a map of the hideout of these elitists, so they decide to go there and confront the criminals. At this moment, they come across the pig from the beginning of the movie, so they decide to take the animal with them as well. The scene then cuts to a bunker-like facility at night where all the elites are debating politics, climate change, curing AIDS, and other pressing matters. It seems like they are all engaged in philanthropic activities of that nature and want to make the world a better place. For their protection, they've also hired a seasoned veteran named Sergeant Dale, who has been training them for months. Not long after, Richard steps outside to urinate when suddenly Dawn arrives with a pig and asks if the animal belongs to him. While Richard is distracted, Crystal silently sneaks up behind him and slashes his throat. The scene then returns to the bunker-like place where the elitists hear footsteps, so they grab their guns and get ready. Moments later, something appears from upstairs, so they quickly begin shooting, only to realize it was just a pig. A woman is distraught upon seeing the innocent animal dead, right when Crystal shows up and begins effortlessly killing them one by one. The group tries their best to fight her, but even with their combined effort, they are no match. Moments later, Don arrives from upstairs and is shocked to see that Crystal has taken down all of them. He also grabs a gun, right when Athena, who is somewhere else, speaks through the radio and asks Don if he managed to kill Crystal. Upon hearing this, Crystal is horrified that he is also part of their group, so she immediately holds him at gunpoint. Don, however, claims he's innocent and doesn't know who's speaking to him through the radio, but Athena asks him to drop the act, since Crystal knows everything. Don insists it's not true, but Crystal doesn't want to take any chances, so she shoots him dead. Next, Crystal approaches Sergeant Dale, who is on the verge of death, and they chat briefly, during which she reveals that she used to be in the military and fought in Afghanistan. The man tells her that she has won and asks her to go home, but Crystal refuses and asks him where the woman who spoke on the radio is. Dale refuses at first, saying she can't fight against Athena, who has been training for 8 months, but when Crystal begins torturing him, Dale finally reveals Athena's address, after which she shoots him dead. In the present, Crystal arrives at Athena's house, where Athena is already waiting and speaks through the radio. She makes Crystal leave the gun in the mailbox and then lets her in. When Crystal enters the house, the two are finally face to face, and Crystal asks her the reason for doing this. Athena reveals how her life was ruined because of a joke, and it was people like Crystal who spread hate news online. She claims to know everything about Crystal's life, including how she dropped out of school at the age of 12, how her father was killed during a police raid on his drug ring, and how her mother died of an overdose shortly thereafter. However, Crystal reveals that it wasn't her who mocked Athena online, and explains that there is another woman in her hometown with the same full name. She also reveals that her mom is still alive, and her dad never did drugs. Upon hearing this, Athena refuses to believe her, and the two immediately engage in a fierce fight. Unlike the other elitists, Athena proves to be a highly skilled fighter and a formidable match for Crystal. After a long and intense fight, Athena stabs Crystal with a blender blade and manages to injure her severely. However, Crystal refuses to give up, so she hugs her opponent and stabs her multiple times with the same blade. Exhausted and bloodied, both lie on the floor, during which Crystal asks about her code name, Snowball. Athena reveals that she took the name from George Orwell's Animal Farm, where there was a pig character named Snowball. However, Crystal argues that Snowball was an idealist who wanted to make the world better, so others began making up lies about him. She suggests the name suits Athena better than her. Upon hearing this, Athena is shocked that she has read that book and asks her to be honest about her identity, to which Crystal once again confirms that they got the wrong woman. Moments later, Athena eventually passes away, while Crystal gets up to tend to her wounds. She then wears a beautiful dress from Athena's wardrobe and leaves the mansion with Athena's dog. Crystal enters the private jet outside and tells the pilot that their bosses are dead and asks them to take her home, to which the man nervously agrees. The movie then ends as Crystal sits with the flight attendant from the beginning of the movie and shares caviar and champagne